This is genocide. It is not a war. It is a slaughter in a ghetto by the shore. A ghetto with no army. A ghetto with no ports. A ghetto under the jurisdiction of the military courts of an occupying power with the target everyone, killing them with bombs and chemicals and guns. This is genocide. They're using famine and disease as our lives go on. Just across the seas, the occupying army is imposing starvation on everyone in Gaza of every station. Parents or children, people anywhere, they're being killed because they're still living there. This is genocide. It's happening now. The Western politicians talk about how they must stop the bombing and let in aid, but the murder continues with American-made missiles and jets with zero regard as the buildings collapse like houses of cards. This is genocide. Whether or not the media moguls have decided they've got elections to cover or any number of things more worthy than what is happening in Gaza, where they're facing 2 million dead. That's what the heads of the UN departments all said. This is genocide, and if you disagree, there's a phrase to describe your idiocy. Those who see and then look away. Those leaders who talk, but at the end of the day, the hunger, the bombs falling down from the sky is a Holocaust that they would rather deny. This is genocide.
Welcome, everyone. Veterans for Peace members, friends and allies, welcome to Organize for Palestinian Liberation. It's day 193 of Israel's genocidal war in Gaza, and we're here for a long overdue and much needed strategy session to resist Israel's genocide in Palestine. Events concerning Palestine are rapidly changing. Some news is hopeful, from tens of thousands demanding Netanyahu's resignation March 31st in Jerusalem, to direct action blockades yesterday in San Francisco, Oakland, New York City, Miami, Seattle, and likely dozens of cities, accompanying the demand no tax dollars for apartheid. Some is depressing, like uncovering a mass burial site in what was once Al-Shifa, or the count of lost lives reaching 40,000. Some is tenuous, like Israel's delay invading Rafah and their timeline for attacking Iran. Our primary goal tonight is to highlight a dozen plus projects to free Palestine. We may also come to some consensus prioritizing what we consider to be key projects. I'll put my email address in the chat now for anyone who wishes to request a revised list post-meeting. Okay, I'm going to put that in the chat now. So that's UnityAct2 at AOL. UNITYACT number 2 at AOL. I'm going to try to format this to a back and front leaflet for mass distribution. Okay. So we're going to go, events have been going on the ground and they're just rapidly changing. You know, some days you wake up and it's good news, some days you wake up and it's bad news. So we're going to go right to a list now of 4 national events this summer, 4 opportunities. Here we go. So we're going to pick up on this screen here with what can we do about these war crimes. Does everybody see that? Give a thumbs up. Okay. Okay. So what can we do about these war crimes? Well, we should sustain local street presence, but we have 4 opportunities for national resistance this summer. So May the 14th features a 75th Nakba anniversary rally at the Washington Monument at 1 p.m. That's May 14th. A People of Palestine conference takes place in Detroit from May 24th to the 26th. July the 15th to the 18th in Milwaukee, and August the 19th to the 22nd in Chicago features the RNC and DNC conventions. This DNC convention looks like it may very well be a focus. They had 400 people in Chicago at a meeting just last week preparing for that. The Chicago police are already just began to refuse them permits for demonstrations. So here we are. There are many projects to embrace, including but not limiting to the following. Lobbying and legislation. 56 House representatives signed a letter to Biden demanding the U.S. halt weapons transfers to Israel. 70% of Israel's war imports come from the U.S. So opposing U.S. arms shipments to Israel may be the biggest game changer. It can be led by U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights, Adala Project, Council on American Islamic Relations, Empower Change, and Code Pink. Another lobbying focus should resume funding to UNRWA, which lost 176 of the 200 humanitarian aid workers killed since October. Oppose and expose AIPAC. This is important now due to the election season. Right-wing groups like AIPAC's United Democracy Super PAC have committed to spending $100 million nationwide in Democratic primaries. Do some research on this and share it. 3, educate yourself. This may be the most important thing you can do. Include study of Palestinian history prior to October 2023. View the U.S. Campaign for Palestinian Rights and Code Pink's toolkits, especially activities concerning legislation and lobbying. Fundraise local and nationally. Host fundraising parties and donate to groups doing the work. Make a pledge tonight. I sent a $55 pledge to the Intercept Friday and pledged the same to the UN Relief and Works Agency, UNRWA. Boycott, divestment, and sanctions. This is a project, and we tried to load this up, and we didn't feel that the quality was good enough. So, but this is a project that we don't have to initiate. All you have to do is access boycott, divestments, and sanctions. Just Google it, and you'll run into that. I just began to boycott Costco. Oh, that was hurtful, but I did. And then you have the American Friends Service Committees. The companies profit from Israel's 2023-24 tax on Gaza. We can and should buy Palestinian products, by the way. To do so, Google products made in Palestine. To wage a media campaign. The Committee to Protect Journalists reports, and it's actually up to 125 journalists. I just got an email today. 125 journalists and media workers killed as of today. About 95% of whom are Palestinian. Fight back by reading and donating to progressive media outlets like The Intercept, Gray Zone, Moon of Alabama, Electronic Intifada, Mondoweiss, Counterpunch, and If Americans Do. They operate on a shoestring budget, so donations are huge. Write letters to the editor, especially to media who may publish it. Call into progressive and mainstream radio outlets and organize actions at Zionist supporting media outlets. This is Ceasefire Advocacy Week. There are actually 600 lobbyists right now lobbying Congress to demand an immediate permanent ceasefire and to pass local ceasefire resolutions. Free those in Zionist prisons. Tomorrow there is a rally in Union Square in New York City to commemorate the thousands of Palestinian prisoners in Zionist detention centers, including Palestine's Nelson Mandela, Marwan Barghouti. So that's another person to highlight and learn about. Support and visit those on solidarity fasts on campus and at the White House. Engage in nonviolent direct actions. And this is what happened yesterday, blocking airports and traffic routes and highways. There have been military bases blocked and offices of politicians and mainstream media. Move it up. Stop weapon transfers to Israel. Increase humanitarian aids to Gaza. Refund UNRWA and avert a wider war in the region. No war on Iran. Speaking of humanitarian aid, in May of 2010, a Freedom Flotilla of 6 ships was attacked by Israeli forces while carrying humanitarian aid and construction materials, intending to break the Israeli naval blockade of the Gaza Strip. 10 people were killed in the attack, all by gunshots, according to the UN. So you know where that's coming from. Call the White House now to demand that this year's flotilla carrying 5,500 tons of aid is not attacked. Build organization. Commit yourselves to greater involvement. Follow, join, and donate to groups like USCPR, the Adala Project, Empower Change, the Council on American Islamic Relations, Jewish Voice for Peace, Code Pink, Veterans for Peace, About Face Iraq Veterans Against the War, the United National Anti-War Coalition, Doctors Without Borders, and Rebuilding Alliance, which feeds several 100,000 people in Gaza. So those are the 13, the dirty dozen of projects that we have. And we could probably open up now so that, in other words, so we can unmute everybody. And if people want to start commenting, you know, identifying maybe a favorite project. But that was the task on this, was to get all these projects out there and to let people see all the, you know, the widespread things that you can do. So you want to raise your hands, we can do that. Maybe you can take down that so that we can see hands coming up.
Yeah, let's put a hand up.
All right, everybody's unmuted. So if you go down to a line, you'll see at the bottom, you'll see reactions. And then you can click on that and say, it'll say, one of them will say, raise your hand.
Yeah, it says you go to more first and then reactions.
I think so. I think we should show our faces.
So go to more
Right.
and then reactions and then raise your hand. Okay. So anybody who has something to say, we'll give you a few minutes to think about it. I'll go down the list again. Lobbying and legislation, opposing AIPAC, educating yourself, fundraising, boycott, divestment, and sanctions, wage a media campaign. This week is Ceasefire Advocacy Week, freeing those in Zionist prisons, including Marwan Barghouti, Palestine's Nelson Mandela, solidarity fasts, engaging in nonviolent direct action, stopping weapons transfers to Israel, supporting the Gaza Freedom Flotilla by calling the White House, demanding that Israel not respond violently, and build organization and commit yourselves to greater. Okay, there's Ken Mayers. Let's kick it off, Ken.
Okay, I just wanted to mention that shutdown drone warfare is again having a week-long protest at Holloman Air Force Base, which trains over 700 drone pilots a year. including foreign pilots. And those drones, among other things, of course, are providing surveillance over Gaza and so forth. So this year there will be some emphasis in the protest on Gaza. And if you are interested in joining us, we'd certainly love to have you. And you can go to Shutdown Drone Warfare, Google it, and you'll see where you can register.
So you have to register, Ken?
You don't have to, you can just show up, but it's helpful for planning purposes if you register, because we will be providing food. There are travel stipends available if you need travel to get there. Closest airport is El Paso, Texas.
And so where's Holloman? Near El Paso?
Yeah, Holloman's in southeast New Mexico. It's about an hour drive from the El Paso airport. And it's adjacent to White Sands National Monument, White Sands Missile Range, and quite a bit of scenic beauty in southeastern New Mexico. And there'll be time we're going to have morning and evening visuals in between. You're free to go explore the countryside.
And if you go to that website, I know there's tons of pictures of all of those protests that have been done in the past, right?
That's right. And there will be civil resistance opportunities while you're there. I was among the 5 arrested last year. I have my New Mexico arrest now. I'm not planning to get arrested this year.
How many arrests is that, Ken? And then we'll move on to the next question.
I have no idea.
So, all right, we got Arla and John. They have their hand up.
Yes, thank you. This is John, VFP Chapter 63, Albuquerque. I recommend that we delete the Educate Yourself because that's a personal project. And in place of it, I think we should start, even though we're a 503c, we should start calling Biden and his administration unindicted war criminals. They need to be shamed. They're hopeless. They need to be shamed and outed for what they're doing.
I'd like to follow up with what Arla said. I think one of the very effective groups acting politically is Code Pink. Folks are familiar with Code Pink.
Yeah.
And they're very effective because it's women. And so, it's politicians being challenged by women who are not perceived as threatening, say, as males. And so Code Pink is very effective in that manner. And in the same manner, veterans would be effective in going up and challenging politicians in the same manner that Code Pink does. Because we have that authenticity that the public considers of having been in the military. And there's a certain amount of credibility there. So I think if we were to have a veteran group that did similar things like Code Pink, doing what Arla is saying, embarrassing and challenging the politicians, I think that would carry a lot of weight with people who are unconvinced or not sure which side they should be taking on this issue.
And if I could, I'll follow up on Arla also, and Krishna. Veterans for Peace has done a letter, and it's an 11-page letter. It's to Anthony Blinken and a variety of senior folks at the State Department that is outlining all the criminality of this administration. And we had on the Veterans for Peace radio hour 2 weeks ago, I think, we had Mike Ferner and I think Larry Gilroy, I think. And they went specifically over all the charges. And I'll put that link in the chat on where you can go to get to listen to that radio hour, and you just search on it and you can find that. But that is something that we've had a legal team or a legal person put together a list of all of the criminality that this Biden administration has conducted. So if you want to share that around, that would be great. Who's next?
I saw that, and that is good. But that is intellectual. We need something visceral. And what Code Pink does is very visceral. It's not intellectual at all. It's just very visceral, challenging the politicians directly about with words about their criminality. So I think, veterans, if we could still fit in our uniforms or equivalent uniforms, going up and challenging politicians, I think would have a lot of credibility with the American public.
Very good. Makes a good point. Susan Lamont?
Hi, I'm in Sonoma County, California, and I'm a member of Veterans for Peace, but I'm also a member of the Green Party. I help to run the local Peace and Justice Center, and I feel that's very important to all work together and bring our issues together. And this Sunday here in Sonoma County, well, there's every Sunday, ever since October, there has been a protest in our courthouse square with 50 to 100 people every single time, and even in the rain. And it's been in support of Gaza. And we're going to be having one connected to Earth Day this Sunday. And I've created the flyer for it. And what I did was I went to the websites of the Green Party and Veterans for Peace and Code Pink, and the language that I've used on the flyer for this and the promotion of it comes from all those different groups, because we're really all on the same page, but say things in slightly different ways. And so Code Pink, their theme is that genocide equals ecocide. So we're going to be, talking about Gaza specifically, militarism, planet, drawing all those things together. And I think that that's something we need to do as often as we can. And the other cross-sectional thing that I do is I'm on the Peace Action Committee of the Green Party, and we do regular webinars on various topics around militarism. And I always bring in someone from Veterans for Peace to be one of the participants in that. So our last one, I got Matthew Ho to speak, and the next one, Mike Wong is going to speak. So doing those cooperative things extends your reach, and I really recommend it. Thank you.
Very good.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Who else? Go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, this is just a short piece responding to Krishna. I also wanted, perhaps he's not aware, or perhaps he is, but there are also a younger generation of veterans that are involved, called About Face, Iraq Veterans Against the War. So we want to do a pitch for them also, because they're out there and they've actually been in combat more recently than our generation.
And I mentioned, I might as well self-promote. I mentioned the radio show. We've had Walter Hickson on the show to discuss AIPAC and the Israel lobby. We have had boycott, divestment, and sanctions. This radio show this week is all about the Vanderbilt students who were either arrested, suspended, or on probation for trying to initiate boycott, divestment, and sanctions at Vanderbilt, and the university came down hard on them. media. We've been talking about media with every one of our shows, and so let's see, and then engage in nonviolent direct action, blocking traffic, military bases. We've had Anthony Donovan on. We've also had Ellen Davidson. Ellen, you're out there, right? And Ellen Davidson, she's been on. So I will put that in the chat as soon as I can stop sharing this. And then that is a place where if you want to listen to something rather than look something up, that's it. Also, like Patrick said, Krishna Madan just about maybe a month ago did a wonderful presentation on the history of the area. Put your email in the chat and I will send you that YouTube. Okay, I'm done. And Roger Ehrlich has his hand up.
Can you hear me?
Perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I joined the meeting very late, but I just want to share, I think Munjo's also on the call. He's been helping us to drive this billboard truck, mostly around Raleigh, but we put a big old bell on it from this bell tower project, and we've been out at all these rallies and things, and in which have been really large in Raleigh and Durham and Chapel Hill with a really strong turnout, and a lot of Palestinian leadership and doing caravans and all of these things. And so we're thinking about doing more listening tour stuff leading up to the elections, but also like a kind of thing where we send our concerns to the candidates, about that they're not addressing the need to demilitarize. And so anyway, we've been over the overpasses and everything, just getting thousands and a great response from people like honking behind it. And it's all from a frame that we put on you can put on any pickup truck. So we could actually duplicate these. So our message has been pretty straightforward: ceasefire now, and just honk for peace stuff on the back and such, but with the Veterans for Peace logo, banner across it. But anyway, it's just something that has been very stirring things up and just expressing our outrage. And there's a lot of different directions we can continue to take that, and would love to talk to others interested in that kind of doing that kind of thing or comparing notes.
If I can ask a question, Roger, how's the reception been?
The reception has been fabulous. I mean, people cheer the truck wherever it goes. You see, I drive it right out of my driveway, and we're in the Research Triangle here. It's kind of like Cary, Raleigh, Chapel Hill, Durham. And there's. But we've been getting good response from the non-activists as well. People just kind of love. We were thinking of starting to hand out ice cream on it. If somebody has a connection to the Ben and Jerry's or something like that. But the idea of, I think people love it just because it's like this huge frame on this little pickup, and we have this big bell ringing. We have MLK on the back. There comes a time when silence is betrayal, and honk for peace on the back. And, it's like a rollicking old yippee kind of thing.
Excellent. So no blowback.
I mean, I'll say this, like so like today, I was over the overpass on I-40, like 5 lanes of traffic in both directions, rush hour. And, I'm facing, and, I just leave whenever they come along. But, that's just one high profile site. But mostly we've been showing up at the protest things and just riding around downtown and through the universities, but also in caravan with the Palestinians, because right from the beginning, they were, doing the caravans. And so we've been coordinating and going to all the busy places together, because we're sharing, but also working quite independently and unpredictably.
Very good.
Yep.
Thanks. James?
Yeah, sure.
So I think Jamie's been waiting a while, so can
Yeah,
we put her up?
James. Yeah.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure that I wanted to acquaint people with a couple of things. One, I'm with a group called Voices from the Holy Land, and they every month they sponsor documentary films about Palestine with the mission to end the occupation. They've been doing it for years now. So if you go to their website, you can you can register for this month's. And it's all about, this time it's all about how Israel has destroyed the healthcare system in Gaza. And so when you register, you get access to a couple of documentaries you can watch at home whenever it's convenient for you. And then this Sunday on the 21st at 3 o'clock Eastern time, they're going to have a panel with some really excellent people, including a doctor who just was at Al Shifa Hospital. So I wanted to make sure people knew about that. And then just real briefly, maybe all of you know, since Ann Wright is a member of Veterans for Peace, and she is helping to organize another flotilla, which I believe sets sail this week, I think, or maybe they already have. And, those flotillas have been going on since 2008, but they're going to do another one this summer and sail to Gaza with a boatload of humanitarian supplies.
Jamie, could you put your organization in the chat?
10 people were shot in the 2010, May 31st, 2010. Israeli folks rappelled down from helicopters and pulled up on gunboats and killed 10 people on the 6 ships that were on the flotilla. So that's another task for people, is to call the White House and demand that Israel does not, attack the Gaza Freedom Flotilla.
Oh my goodness.
James?
Yeah, I put the website in for the panel discussion, but I'll put it in again. Yeah.
How come we heard so much about September 11th, but so little about that?
That's a rhetorical question.
That's right. So James Janko.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, the flotilla, I have a friend leaving tomorrow for it. I think people are meeting in Istanbul for nonviolence training and then heading off on the flotilla. I don't know exactly the timing of when the boats leave, but I wanted to tell you about a thing that I'm been organizing. It's going to happen on the 25th of April. It's called Genocide in Gaza, Voices from the Region, and it's a Veterans for Peace event, and it's going to include, the panelists are Mahmoud Muna, who's known by many as the bookseller of Jerusalem. His bookstore is kind of, it's considered a cultural hub in Jerusalem, really an amazing place. Isa Boulos, who's from Jerusalem and who's done music workshops in Gaza. And my friend Nili Bilkind, who in Jaffa, Israel, who's a musicologist and an author and longtime anti-occupation activist. I can put stuff in the chat. I mean, it's kind of a lot to put in the chat, but right at the, it's just telling me your message is too long. I'll figure something else. I'll have to figure something else out. But anyway, it'll be kind of the role of the arts. What can creativity do at this time? We have some really creative people on the panel. So, yeah, that's
excellent. Okay, let's see. Munjo, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to add what Raja said. While driving the billboard truck, we kind of interacted with the general population, and mostly my feeling is friendly. It confirms some polls saying 66% of the population support ceasefire, and unlike what the major media portraits. So it is a great feeling. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, I see Ken has his hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a word about the flotilla. As Patrick said, actually, Patrick, I think it was 11 were killed, one of whom was a Turkish American. And they were all on the Mavi Marmara, which was a large Turkish ship. The other ships were smaller. But I went the following year on the flotilla with Ann Wright and Ray McGovern and a number of our other compadres. This year, there, I think, are 5 veteran members and 4 associate members of Veterans for Peace going on the flotilla. Since the devastating attack on the Mavi Marmara back in the first international flotilla, the Israelis have gotten much more clever about it. They find ways of stopping the flotillas before they're even that part of the Mediterranean, so that the flotilla one that I was on with Ann and Ray and Medea Benjamin and others got bottled up in harbor in Greece. The Greek Coast Guard, along with what we think was a squad of Israeli frogmen, stopped the ship as we got 5 miles out of harbor, turned us around, put us back, arrested the captain. We went on a hunger strike in front of the American embassy until the captain was released, which was about 5 days later. So there are ways of being active even if you do get headed off. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed for the flotilla. Arla Ertz, who was on the program earlier, on this screen earlier, is one of the associate members going on the flotilla. That's an important action, and we need to support it.
Call the White House.
Yeah, maybe ask for a naval escort. Who else?
I wonder if we might want to shift into thinking about how we can organize in the future. I'm sure the Democratic National Convention is going to be monstrous. I mean, and who can forget Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young's "Won't you please come to Chicago, show your face"?
That's for sure.
This is I would really love if we could bootstrap more of these billboard trucks, and I think that this listening tour, sort of this veterans voters poll, kind of thing, where we frame the question, I just don't know what our capacity is. There's so many kinds of action that we can take, but we've been enjoying what we've been doing with this billboard truck, and would love to do more of it. Kind of like maybe. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I'll just say real quick. I don't think feedback. But we've been setting up this big bell tower at the state capitol for like a couple weeks at a time, up to each Armistice Day, and so we might do it a week earlier this year. And so I'm thinking if we can kind of do this listening tour, voters poll kind of polling kind of thing around the area leading up to that, and then we could. Organize more events there in coalition with other groups leading up to the elections, and not endorse anybody, of course. This is just righteous outburst.
Dan? Ken, is your hand still up from last time, or you got something else to say?
I think
You're
he's,
muted.
Yeah, I wanted to ask Roger if he has a document on how to replicate his billboard project, or if there's any
Yes,
such.
I've got design drawings, and we spent, so we could make some modifications, but we designed it very specifically so that it could go on any U-Haul truck, which are quite cheap by the day. And our total material cost, which is standard, just kind of drilled square steel stock, hollow stock, it was, I think, less than we had volunteered labor, but I think it was like $1,500 for this huge, 12 foot by 9 foot thing that you can put anywhere and use in a lot of different ways. But the bell really helps a lot too. But this thing, you can get the tech, you can get professional banners. We ended up making our own because it was going to start to be an anti-nuke truck kind of after the Golden Rule. But any rate, you can get mesh things. You can do all kinds of things as far as sort of political theater in the street. Video projections show up at hockey games, parking lots, whatever.
and so Roger, so you rent a truck every so often, a U-Haul truck, and you just.
No, I use my own. I use my own, which is far more practical. It's just possible to put one on a rental truck. All you need is a truck with at least a 6-foot bed and steel clamps. And we do have it like an erector set. We could produce like an erector set type of thing for this and probably even bring the costs down some more.
Okay, so it's in the back of the pickup. If you get a chance, could you send Patrick a picture?
Oh yeah. My phone is. I'm having trouble using my phone for some reason. Hit right here, but I've got a whole photo album I can send a link to, at least for the minutes, or if there's going to be a follow-up email going out.
Yeah, there will be with the
Okay.
with the YouTube of this. So
Okay, excellent. So I will include something that's more of how it might. Yeah, I'll provide a lot of details and so people understand what's involved.
I think Munjo just put a picture in the chat.
Yep.
That reminds me of another way that we can get the word out, which is billboards on the highway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the overpass.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how this project actually started. Was we did a lot of research about that, and Matt Ho was involved too locally, and we decided that rather than spend like $3,500 for 1 month of a billboard, that if we made our own mobile billboard for half of that, even if it wasn't donated labor by a skilled metal dude, then it still has much more organizing bang for the buck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could almost buy a pickup truck for that
Well,
price.
yeah, we could if we had a real businessman here, and if we get the word out, and make it almost like a franchise, like kind of option for people to do it, to pursue it, yeah, it could. Yeah, it could work.
And there's the digital version of the billboard truck. I saw one in DC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, during the national Palestinian ceasefire, Palestine ceasefire event. There was a billboard truck. It's similar size of that with ours, but it's digital.
Yeah, those are quite expensive, and we have the option of putting with that same metal framing. It's very strong and very well cross-braced and designed so that you can put the professional sized, specifically sized banners with the grommets and just drill holes and stuff. But you could put one of the cheap scrolling things. You can get panels, but I think it would be very expensive. But you could get a cheaper scrolling thing so that if you're actually organizing people or promoting a certain event, the ones that are cheap, and you just type something in the keyboard and whatever text you want scrolls across to the bottom.
Okay. Let's see.
Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to sort of reemphasize again the compelling authenticity we have as being veterans. And I think our activity should use that. I belong to a local Palestine group, as does Patrick, here in South Florida, and we do events such as these mentioned. But I think a veterans group really needs to do veteran type activities that bring out the fact that we're veterans and really personally bring issues to the forefront. And I think that will carry a lot of weight with the public. General publicity, the other groups do that. But I think, if we can have like veteran delegations just to go speak to the congressman and have it recorded, put it online the same way Code Pink does, I think that's the most effective thing that we can do as veterans.
Susan.
Yeah, I'm wondering how many of you have tried convincing local government to support ceasefire resolutions, because we're not doing well here in Sonoma County at all, and we're supposed to be a progressive county. And we get lots of Jewish people who identify themselves as Jewish people standing up for the ceasefire resolution. And there will be others who identify themselves as Jewish who are against it, who will look like they want to kill them. I mean, they look like if they could, they would strangle them. But we really aren't getting anywhere. The city council members and stuff, they're terrified. They won't move. They refuse to discuss it. Absolutely won't even put it on the agenda.
Well, I know from a Nashville standpoint, and I am in a southern city, and so that is not helpful to begin with. But there's been a number of efforts, and a number of people go to the council meeting, and one of our we're famous for Andy Ogles, who is the neighborhood congressman, who said to a reporter, "Kill them all."
Yeah.
Kill all the Palestinian, and he even said, I think, so you want me to say kill all the children? We'll kill all the children. And so it's awful.
Hey, we have a member of Veterans for Peace who said that.
Wow.
Won't name names.
Susan, I was at a meeting of about 7 of us with the vice mayor of Lake Worth in Palm Beach County last weekend. And they're the progressive hub of Palm Beach County, which actually Palm Beach County gives more money to Israeli bonds than any jurisdiction in the US. But this is a kind of somewhat of a radical enclave, in the county. Unfortunately, although we were meeting with the vice mayor and he was part of us, but he talked about 5 people on the council, and he only had he and one other vote that were sure. And because of a recent election where, some other people got elected and not progressive. But I think that you have to be creative, and throw up an informational picket line, passing out leaflets outside their meeting one time, if they want to stonewall you.
Yeah, we've done that. We've done that.
Well, some of that, sometimes doing that is, is part of raising hell.
Right. Yeah. No,
even if you don't win it, you raised hell about it.
Exactly. We've had discussions in one of the cities with the Green Party vice mayor, in this town that calls itself Peace Town. And he put it on the agenda, but it got pulled because he could not get anyone else to agree to it. So it's been pulled, and I'm about to go and give him hell. But it's about time for me to leave.
Okay, let's see. I'm gonna put my hand up.
Who
So
else?
thank you very much. I have to go.
Thank you, Susan.
Okay, thank you.
Who else? Well, oh, James, go ahead. James raised his hand. So, James?
You're muted, James.
About organizations that are doing really good work in media, plus 972 magazine out of Israel, they broke the story on the use of artificial intelligence in Gaza. They do amazing independent journalism, Israelis and Palestinians, and they're really worth supporting. And also Middle East Children's Alliance is a really good organization. Thank you.
So we should be donating to those groups. I just donated $50 to The Intercept on Friday.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that is, you know, we talk about Veterans for Peace being a Vietnam era generation, but that means that some of us have a little bit more money than our younger compatriots. And I think that's one of the things that we ought to be able to do. We ought to be donating to, like I said, I donated to The Intercept. So let's do it. Let's do it. Robert, you're on mute.
Good evening, folks. In Spokane, the city council endorsed Israel's campaign right away on October 9th, that Monday. And the Socialist Party and Liberation Socialist Party protested right away. And we go to some of the city council meetings on Monday to protest that, and it was amended again in January, but it's still wishy-washy vocabulary. We were really upset with the Spokesman Review newspaper that we weren't getting any letters to the editor in the paper, and then we weren't getting any responses from our representative, Kathy McMorris Rogers. And in January, we finally got an audience from Kathy McMorris Rogers' clerk there in her new office that was away from downtown over on the east side. And we went in there, about 7, 8, 9 of us, and we gave them a paper about the issue with the children being killed. And then we said that we no longer recognize the right of Israel to exist. And now she's not running this year. So I know, but they still, we still can't get anything in the letters to the editor in the paper, but we support the Inland Northwest Coalition for the Liberation of Palestine and some of the People's Socialist Liberation Party and some of the other groups, the Peace Just Action League of Spokane, which is like a 45-year-old organization, Peace, Justice. It should be justice and peace. You have to have justice first, like Martin Luther King said, before you can have peace. But it's called PJALS, Peace, Just Action League of Spokane. We all hang out in the same building there, and we were running low on just rent money, annual rent money for our monthly meeting, and we ran into some money somebody wanted to, so that we didn't have to move out. And I wrote that down. That sounds like a good idea with the maybe we could buy a used pickup truck and make a billboard truck out of it. I'll bring that up at the May meeting. It sounds like a good idea, Mr. Roger. Thanks.
Yeah, Ehrlich, Roger. Yeah.
Greg's got his hand up.
Moment, but
Roger, you should raise your hand. Greg has his hand up.
Sorry.
Oh, I wanted to ask about the letter writing. Robert, you said that they won't publish your letters, and some people here in Santa Fe have had letters changed. The editorial page lady changes their letters so that it blunts the point that they're trying to make. And even one person said, reverse the point that she was trying to make. But they only do that to letters that are about Palestine. So we're talking about getting a meeting with that person or maybe her superiors at the paper. I wondered if maybe other people have had experience with that.
No, but you could always throw up a picket line at the media.
Yeah.
Ken.
I just want to update my colleague Greg. You know that Santa Feans for Justice in Palestine has met with the editorial page editor, and there's been a noticeable change on the editorial page in the last few weeks, thanks to his intervention. So it always was a good idea to go in and speak to the editors, develop a personal relationship with them, because if they don't have a personal relationship with you, they may pass you off as unimportant or just crazy. But it really helps to develop a personal relationship with the editors.
Thanks.
Roger, you want to step up to the mic?
To talk about what? I could.
No, I mean you were just whatever you were talking about. You were going to talk about.
Oh, golly. I think what's on my mind is just that anything we can do in this election to stir things up will help, and we're going to try to use this billboard truck to promote the installation of this bell tower at the state capitol, and that is about veterans' voices. But many of you are familiar with it. You know, it starts with how everybody, asking anybody to bear witness to how they've been affected by war and add plaques to the bell tower. But, really the thing we want to do is have it be about beating swords to plowshares, this happens to be the theme at NC State, from this World War I bell tower, that we've latched onto, but at any rate, I think a lot of veterans leading the conversation about the questions about demilitarization that the powers that be don't want them to talk about, but the public has a thirst for is, that was quite a sentence, but that's what I think is the aim, and anything we can do to whatever antics we can do for that will help.
Excellent. Krishna.
Yeah, going back to the boycott, there's an app called No Thanks that you can download from the Play Store or the Apple Store, and you scan the barcode and it'll tell you if the item is okay to buy or not okay based on the boycott criteria. There are other apps, but that seems to be the most popular one, the No Thanks app. And if you can spread this to your friends, because one of the ways Palestinians think that would be very effective to induce change and movement on Israel's part towards justice and peace is to expand the boycott. And this app is a very easy way. You use it to scan the barcodes of items and decide whether to buy it or not based on the result it shows. And spread it to others.
Yeah.
Spread it to others, not just for ourselves.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea.
Charlie.
Hi, it's Diane.
Oh.
Hello, everybody. This is my first time coming on to one of the meetings of Vets for Peace. So glad to be a supporter of this fellowship. I have a sister who lives in Palestine, and it's been very difficult. As soon as this thing started up, I knew something bad was coming down the road. And I've never felt that way before because we all know how they drop bombs, periodically every 3 to 5 years. I started getting a hold of writing letters to Biden right off the bat, and then to my senators here, Warnock and I can't remember the other guy's name, in Savannah. And I got no reply. I got a format letter a couple of times back from Biden, and the third time I wrote, I says, "Don't even bother sending me another, letter." My sister got the same identical letter. They're all prepared for this. They've got something in mind that is not going to take any one of us, seriously. All we can do is just show that we have the support for all the youth here in America, that the adults are not approving of this, and that's why I wear my hat, and I wear my hat every day, and I don't care where I go, and I wear my hat. It's been very hard and very difficult because people don't like seeing you in the hat, and then some people like you, will wave at you and are very enthusiastic about it. But it is a really sad thing because we have absolutely no voice here in America anymore. We have no voice. And when you start talking about it, they don't want to hear about it. So I don't know what the heck you can do about that, other than just, get out all of our posters that we can get out. I copied the truck sign so that I can at least print out some of those and leave them in places where I go. And, if they disappear, they disappear. But, at least I'll put it out there somewheres. I'd like to be able to get in touch with somebody who's from the Vets for Peace here in Savannah. I don't know how to contact those people. So anyways, that's all I've got on it. Thanks.
Diane, have you been to the Veterans for Peace website, veteransforpeace.org, and just looked at chapters to see
chapters?
Yeah,
Okay.
look up chapters and see if there is a chapter in Savannah, or
There is.
There is.
And there is a contact there. Because I know I stayed at their house one time.
Oh,
Yeah.
that would be fabulous.
Yeah.
Are they on board with this?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Okay. All right.
And Diane, do you talk to your friends and family?
Do I talk to them? Yes. I have a sister who lives in Albuquerque, and she has been organized with people in Albuquerque for probably the last 20 years.
But I mean, people that are not active, not activists, just regular people that
just
sort
regular.
of, yeah.
No, not regular people don't want to hear about it.
But it's what you have to do. We have to make them hear about it.
I do. I bring it up at every gathering I have
Yeah.
that I attend. And the last night I was talking to people at our table. We had 12 of them at our table, and I was telling them about, I had just met my first evangelical, the week before at this meeting. And he was giddy as all, and I was, and he was talking about the rapture, and I had a really bad feeling in my stomach when I went home from that meeting, and I woke up the next day, and I'm going, oh my God, that was an evangelist. Of course he's all giddy. he thinks this is the end of time, and they're pushing for this. So I mentioned that at my table last night, that I had met an evangelist here last week, and you know, if anybody doesn't know that this whole event that's going on with the war over in Israel, or the massacre, is because the evangelicals are behind it, and they're
The
supporting.
rapture.
Yeah,
Ken,
the rapture.
We're Zionists.
Ken, go ahead.
Yeah, Diane, I love, by the way, I love your keffiyeh cap. That's really neat. But I want to suggest actually a little different tack.
All right, please.
And I'm going to boost one of the VFB working sites. It's working site, working group on democracy. As our current national director says, we're continually fighting fires. We need to go after the madman arsonists who are starting them, and that's, you know, the military-industrial complex, the media, the administration, and so forth. So that the focus of that working group is to getting at the root of the problem rather than the branches. As important as it is to fight the fires, someone's really got to take a hard look at how we get our voice back, which is the question you raised. And one of the important steps in that is the supporting an organization called Move to Amend. It's Move to Amend. Move to Amend. It would amend the Constitution so that corporations do not have speech. Money is not the equivalent of speech.
Okay.
And that's the way we'll get our voices back. It's going to be a tough haul to bring it about. We had a constitutional amendment passed, but I think if there's enough time, if we don't destroy ourselves before it happens, I think that's going to be the way out.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And so that's called Move to Amend. Is that a site I can go to?
Yes, you can Google Move to Amend.
I hear Google's behind a lot of stuff too. Technology on spotting people and the AI, artificial intelligence that they're using.
Well, if there's some other browser that you use instead of Google, that will also find Move to Amend.
All right, I'll use Bing from now on.
Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Elizabeth Lee.
Okay, can you hear me?
Perfect.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I've come on a few of your webinars, but today I just decided and I thought, well, I'm from Canada, but it's really interesting listening to all the things that you've done, and that's kind of the same here in Canada. We have some really big groups, and then we have people like myself that I moved from Western Canada all the way to the opposite, to the most northerly tip of Newfoundland. And nobody, you're right, nobody cares. I mean, if they care, and I was lucky that, I don't know what Palestinian organization, it could have been Just Peace Advocates, it was a fundraiser. I sent in a donation and I got a small flag, and then I got the big Palestinian flag. And a pin and a bunch of other things. But what's so amazing is that I took an old mop handle and I went to my hardware store and I said, can you help me? Not a problem. So he put a couple of drill holes in and I hooked up this beautiful Palestinian flag, because I have been here 5 years and it's a small community. And so it's not doing anything. I mean, the only time you're allowed to do something in the mall, the only mall, is if it belongs, the money stays here, or if it's about here. They're not interested in anything else. And so I didn't know it was going to be like that, but then I realized it. So then I said, well, what I'll do is once I got that flag going, I just walk up and down the road until I'm tired, and I have my flag, or I drove to another small community and I walked through their communities and done stuff like that. And my maximum amount of honks is 4. Can you imagine? I've been doing this since the war started. And somebody said, what is that? I said, what are you doing? I said, I'm walking for Palestine. Even though they saw me all the time, she thought, well, why don't I ask her? I said, I'm walking and I'll do this till the end of the war. And she said, oh my goodness. But I mean, for me, it gives, what else are you going to do? It doesn't even matter if you're successful. I've come to that conclusion. What matters is you do it because you keep a lid on the trauma that, and you can never say, I didn't do anything, right? You can say that. And people say, well, nobody cares. I said, well, nobody's going to forget about Palestine and St. Anthony. And secondly, I said, God sees what I'm doing. And he says, that's just fine. Because sooner or later, or not, I don't even care anymore. I'm 75. I don't care if any of this stuff. All I know is this is what I stand for, and I'm going to keep doing it. And it breaks my heart. And if, what else are you going to do? Some people can fly around everywhere else and go knock on Trudeau's door or like say knock on Biden's door. Well, the average person can't. I've been listening to you put it in the newspaper, doing all those things, and then they start to correct letters. Well, isn't that nice of them? So they're more palatable. There's nothing palatable about a genocide, and you're all veterans, so you've seen things. And I just think that as a veteran, you carry a lot more clout. And you can also, there is some really huge organizations run by women that you could piggyback with. They're massive. And those leaders, those women are so powerful. Like I know most of them in the States, like Code Pain Can. There's a whole bunch of them. I don't know why. They came in my email and I said, thank you very much. And I was able to take what the States is doing, what we're or not doing, or what we're not doing, and I just pull it all together. And then but I have a lot of Christian friends and I am appalled that they can't even see what the color of blood is as making any difference, right? And I'm just saying this because I want you to know that what you're doing is amazing. It's wonderful. And it doesn't matter how many, if there's 5 of them, because this group out of Vancouver, it's called Mobilization Against War and Occupation. They do 2 demonstrations every single week. They're all professionals. They all have really big jobs, and they all come out and they do it at the library, and they do it at the U.S. Embassy, I guess it's embassy or whatever it's called.
Consulate.
What's that? Consulate. That's right. Yeah, and so these are 2 they do Cuba once a month, they do Venezuela once a month. They have webinars, but this thing about Palestine really, and they're anti-war at the same time. They were all part of fighting against going into Iraq, and then everything died. And then when they saw what was still going on with the imperialism of your country, right, with sanctions and coups, and Canada's the same way. This is something I did not know. The one country, I think it's it's in the south of the States. They're taking Canada and the U.S. to the International Criminal.
Nicaragua, probably.
No. It's not Nicaragua. It's Honduras. They set that coup in there and caused all that, and the drug cartels and everything. The United States and Canada, because they always they just leave Canada out. Like they think, oh well, they're not that bad. Absolutely not. I'm horrified. And those poor South American countries. So this group, they are people from all walks of life. I learned what the Jews are really supposed to be doing from a Jew that's part of it. And there's people from Yemen and all the rest. So it's similar, like you as a veteran, my aunt was one of the original Raging Grannies in Canada. And she was also Veterans for Peace and a whole bunch of other things. Like for her, it was all about peace after the war, because she served, like my mom and my dad, in the last war.
Looks like you ought to make tighter connections with those groups.
Yeah, because there is so many.
We have to be creative, and we have to be visible, and we have to be committed. So even if you just each one reach one will be helpful. Okay.
Well, they say you need to talk to some people, but for me, and sometimes, I don't know, you guys, I'm sure you're better than I am, but this one woman said to me, what about the 2 million Jews? And it always takes me back. And that's the thing to stop. Whoa. But I said, just say that again. And I'll say, and what about the billions of of Africans and Caribbean and South Americans and indigenous people? And, the list is endless about all the colonization and the slaughter and slavery, rape and all things. What about those guys?
Elizabeth, we need to move on to somebody else now.
Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah.
But
thank you very much.
Thank you. So Russell, go ahead. You're muted.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that Veterans of Peace has a national project. They're doing a walk from Maine to Washington, D.C. It leaves on May 7th. It's dedicated to Daniel Ellsberg and to all the peacemakers. It leaves on May 7th and it gets into Washington in the beginning of July. And I think when it gets there, it's the 75th anniversary of NATO, and there's going to be huge demonstrations by Code Pink, War Without War, et cetera, et cetera. So they're asking people to come for a few hours, a few days, a few weeks, whatever you want to walk on. It starts on the 27th. The way to find out about it and see the exact route is go to peacewalk2024.org. And it has all the information on it. I just wanted to mention that to everybody. And bring a needle and thread with you, because when you get blisters, we just did a 25-mile walk from downtown Buffalo to Niagara Falls. 25 miles because that's the length of Gaza. And when you get blisters, you just poke it through the dead skin on the other side. You leave some string hanging out. We've done a lot of walks. And it won't heal up again. And you can feel like you have gravel in your feet. And as soon as you do that, 10 minutes later, you're good to keep going. Just a small point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ken.
For Elizabeth Lee, I don't know how far you are from St. John's, Newfoundland, but the World Beyond War organization has a chapter in St. John's.
Okay.
So do we want to figure out a way that we can carry this on? Do we want to set up another event? Do we want to call for an inclusive executive committee? In other words, anybody who wants to volunteer, they're on it. What do people think about that? Do we want to have something ongoing out of this other than just sharing our experiences and sharing the projects?
I will set up the Zoom.
Because I don't think we really have the luxury of waiting for another month to get together. Any comments on that?
Well, maybe, Patrick, what we do is I get this on the YouTube and I clean up the chat and send it along too. And we include your document on all the projects, and then we send it out to everybody as long as they've got their email in the chat. Everybody that's got their email in the chat will get something from me. And maybe we just put that out there and say, we're going to have a meeting again. We're going to get together in 2 weeks and sign up. So I hear a lot of clicking, so that's good. People are putting their stuff in the chat.
And I'm putting mine in the chat too, unityact2@aol.com.
Excellent.
So how about last chance for people to speak? We've been on for an hour and a half, and we were even on earlier than that.
Yeah.
But
I will say
any-
something, Patrick, that based on my interview with the kids at the students at Vanderbilt, I'm going to get together with some other folks and go support them with a couple of signs and whatever, and just say reinstate the Vanderbilt 3. And so if you're near college and there, got some activism, because the activists are really getting battered by college administrators from Columbia to Pomona, and so I'm just gonna contact and say, hey, we just want to get out there for an hour and a half, and walk near the Vanderbilt campus, maybe through the Vanderbilt campus, and with a sign that says support, reinstate the Vanderbilt 3. Supporting the young people, because it's their world. I'm looking around at here, and no offense, but if the world ends tomorrow, we've had a great life.
That's true. So I don't know if this is the way to go, Jim, but if you were to send out an email with to all of these people, you could send you could put everybody in the blind carbon copy, and
Correct.
then people don't have to be bothered by everybody who wants to respond saying anything.
Right.
I mean, you could have a choice of putting it in
I'll do the
copy
blind.
to or blind carbon copy.
Yep. So that's what I'll do, as long as you got your email in the chat. All right. So, Patrick, last word, and we'll call it a day.
I don't have any. Give it to somebody else.
Thank you for letting me talk. That was so appreciated.
No, that's fine. That was lovely.
It was. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Take care, you guys.
Peace.
Good night. Take care.
No,
See you guys later.
Thanks all. Thank you.
thank
Good
you.
night.